Hello everybody. Wow, we're in week 28 of reading writing. Can you believe it? We're getting closer and closer to the end. Well, we're going to start out with writing as usual. And you all last week worked on a Foursquare about Disney World. Do you remember? It was, we added one detail to each of the squares. So we made it a little bit more interesting than what we have had before. And so you're going to need to pull that out because today we're going to write our paragraph using our Foursquare. All right. Now I don't know what yours looked like, but remember, this is what mine looked like. All right. I hope yours looks different than mine. Some of it will be the same. You'll have this same sentence because that's your topic sentence, and then of course you'll have all these sentences the same, but your details will be different. Okay, so with that we can get started, and what I would like you to do is first of all pull out your notebook paper and put a heading on it. Now I have a paper that I've started. I'm not going to show you the whole thing yet, but I've done the same thing I told you to do, right? Except that mine isn't writing with my hand. It was done by I did it with the computer. But okay, don't forget, put your name up here on the top, the date underneath it. Over on this side, you're going to put the word writing that tells what subject it is, all right? And then, of course, your very first sentence is your topic sentence, and that is the sentence that's in the long rectangular shape in the middle of your Foursquare. It would be great to visit Disney World, and see how right here I did the indentation. Don't forget to do that. It's very important at the beginning of every paragraph that you indent the first sentence. Then all the other sentences go on the edge. Whoops, let's turn it right side up. All right, so all the other edges, all the other go on the edge. Now what I would want to make sure to remind you is if you are coming to the end of a line and you don't think that you have enough room to write a word, do not divide the word. Just go to the next line and write it on that line. All right. Now, get out your Foursquare, like I said before, and you're going to just start writing. And all you're doing, and we've done this before, so this is not new, you'll just write one sentence right after the other, just like what you wrote on your Foursquare. Because in your Foursquare, you probably wrote complete sentences. So just all you're doing is copying it, and you're writing one sentence right after the other. Make sure you have capitals at the beginning of your sentences. Make sure you have periods at the end of your sentences. And then when you're done with your last square, your very last sentence should say, I would love to go to Disney World. Then you're done. All right, so your first sentence and your last sentence are going to be the same as mine, but everything else will probably kind of vary. The details will vary. So you can go ahead and do that. That is your writing assignment for today. Now, the other thing we're going to do for reading, this is going to be an easy day for you because I'm going to be reading a book to you. You will be doing dictation still, and you will have a study guide over the book that I am reading. So you have to listen carefully. In fact, what I would suggest you do is get out your study guide right now and look at it. Look at the first few questions so that you will know the answers as I read it, because it's a little different this week because you are not going to have a book to look back to when you are doing your questions. Of course, you can always replay the story that I'm reading. So that's always an option. But the book that I'm reading is one that I did not ask you to, I don't think you can get very easily, and it's very expensive. And so I decided to go ahead and read it to you. The Sword of Abram. This is similar to other books that we've read. We read 2 other books by this same author this year. And so it is a Bible story. This one's about Abram. And Abram is the name, the first name of the man that you know of as Abraham. His name at first was Abram, and God renamed him later on Abraham. And we're going to read this story, and this is a story that's in the Bible. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read it, and then I'll show you the picture, okay, because it's a little hard to do both on the computer right now. Abram was a man who had no land and no sons. The world was fresh again after the flood, and people had spread through it according to their languages and built themselves kingdoms and cities. Abram was rich in silver and gold and rich in his herds, but he roamed, and his kingdom was a tent. He didn't have a home. He traveled from place to place, and he lived in a tent. Abram's nephew Lot roamed with him, and their herds and their families and all the men and women in their households traveled with them. But they were not at peace. Together their herds were too large for the land, and the men who tended the animals warred over every pasture and every spring. Too many animals for the amount of land that was available. Let's see, you want to see the picture. There you go. Okay. These are the shepherds. Abram took his nephew, and together they walked through the land. We are blood, Abram said, and there should be no strife between us. When it says we're blood, that means we're kin, we're related. Separate your household from mine and choose land for yourself. If you go to the right, then I will go to the left. If you go to the left, then I will dwell in the right. Lot looked over the land and saw the lush valley of the Jordan, and 5 cities stood on the green plains around it. The greatest was called Sodom, which was a wicked place. That will be my land, Lot said. I will dwell in the cities of the plain and pitch my tents towards Sodom. So here they are looking over the valley, and Abram told Lot he could choose whichever place he wanted, and then Abram would go to the other side of it, okay? So he chose this beautiful, beautiful valley with lots of water and green, but it had some cities in there that were very wicked. They had people in them that did not love Jesus at all. When Lot was gone, Abram walked to a high place to see where he should go. There the Lord spoke to him. You have no land, the Lord said, but look to the north and to the south, to the east and to the west. All that you see I will give to you and to your people. Abram heard the Lord, but he had no sons. Then a wind came and swirled the dust at Abram's feet into a great cloud. When a man can number the dust, the Lord said, then your children shall be numbered. Abram heard, but he didn't quite believe it yet. I mean, he didn't have any children, and he was getting old, so how could he have enough children, like as many children as sands of the sea? That'd be kind of hard to believe, wouldn't it? Okay, so here he is. He's up on the mountain, and he's hearing God. In those days, while Abram roamed, There was a great king in the land of Elam. And there is an airplane, so let's wait a second. There was a great king in the land of Elam called Chedorlaomer. I think that's how you pronounce it, or maybe it's Chedorlaomer. He was powerful, and many weaker kings owed him gold and silver. Together, the king of Sodom and the kings from the cities of the plains decided to rebel against Chedorlaomer. Before their people, they swore to send him no more tribute, and they called up their armies to overthrow him. Other people rebelled as well. The Rephaim and the Zuzim, who were strong like the sons of giants, and their allies with them. Here we go. This king, a lot of people owed him money. Okay, they had to pay him taxes. And they didn't like that. They got really tired of paying all the taxes. Chedorlaomer was angry. 3 kings still served him, and together they raised up a great army. The 4 kings rode out in a swarm of chariots with their strongest fighters riding on long-legged horses beside them. Behind the horses and chariots came thousands of soldiers on foot, archers and men with spears, and a great caravan of wagons and camels carrying food and tents. So he said, this isn't right. These people owe me money, and they're going against me. Well, he got all his army together, and he had a big army and lots and lots and lots of equipment. First, the army of Chedorlaomer fell on the mighty Rephaim and Zuzim. That means that they attacked them. Okay? The sun shone on the bronze armor of Chedorlaomer's men as they swirled around their enemy and cut the great ones down. The men who had walked like sons of giants were left on the field to fill the bellies of young lions and every scavenger in the wild. That's kind of gross. He overpowered the other kings, and so he killed a lot of them and left them there. Didn't bother to bury them or anything. Chedorlaomer did not rest, but turned his chariot towards Sodom and the city of the plains. The king of Sodom and the 4 kings with him rode out with their armies to the valley of Siddim, a dangerous place full of bogs and slime. There they met the anger of Chedorlaomer. Now, a bog is like a big mud pit. And so if you fall into it, it's very difficult to get out of it. Okay, so here they decided, okay, well, we're out here conquering people. Might as well go conquer these guys too, because they've been rebellious and haven't been paying their tribute or their taxes either. So here they are, getting ready to attack Sodom and the other 4 cities that are on the plain there. The armies from the plains met the men of Chedorlaomer and were destroyed. Thousands fell as the king of Sodom fled the fast arrows of his enemies. His chariot toppled into a slime pit, and he was killed. Chedorlaomer killed all the rebel kings and sent his men to Sodom and the other cities. There they took rich fabrics, herds, gold, and men and women for slaves. There they took Lot, the son of Abram's brother, or Abram's nephew. That's who they were talking about at the beginning of the story, remember? Oops, here's the story. This is a picture of him falling into the slime pit. All right. When Abram heard his nephew had been taken as a slave, he called together all the men born in his household, his trained servants, 318 mounted camels, and he armed them with bows and curved bronze swords. Then Abram spoke, "Though Chedorlaomer is a king of kings, and I am king of tents and sheep, the Lord will give him to us, and we will cut him down." So he was depending on the Lord to help him out. He was probably weaker than Chedorlaomer because he didn't have the chariots and all that, but he had the Lord on his side. Then they set off after Chedorlaomer, Abram at the head of his 300. There he goes, gathering everybody together. Abram came to Chedorlaomer's army at night. The soldiers were laughing and drinking in their tents, unafraid of any enemy, for there were no more armies to face them. They had conquered all of them. They didn't know about Abram. Abram divided his 300, and they rode into the camp from every side and overran the great army. 300 killed thousands, and Abram struck down Chedorlaomer outside his tent. Then Abram found Lot and brought him back along with all the men and women and animals and the other goods of Sodom. So the Lord was on his side, and he helped him defeat this mighty, mighty army of thousands, even though there were only a little over 300 of them. God can do that, can't he? He's all powerful. Melchizedek, how would you like that name? Melchizedek, a priest and king of Salem, rode out to meet Abram, and the new king of Sodom came with him. Return only the people, the king of Sodom said, but keep all the gold and the animals and the rich fabrics for yourself. The king of Sodom was very grateful to Abram. He said, just return the people. You can keep everything else. No, Abram said, Sodom is a wicked place. I will keep nothing of yours, not even a lace for my sandal. Or you would say, I made Abram rich. He doesn't want the king of Sodom to think that he had made Abram rich. Abram knows that God gave him everything that he has. Okay, here we go. There's Melchizedek. And the king of Sodom. Then Melchizedek laughed. I have a gift for Abram, servant of the Most High God, he said. And Abram knelt before the great priest king, and Melchizedek gave him bread and wine and placed his hand on Abram's head. Blessed be Abram, he said, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High God, who delivered your enemies into your hand. And Abram gave Melchizedek great riches, 1/10 of all he had. So the priest, he's called the priest king, he gave Abram a blessing. And in return, Abram gave him 1/10 of everything he owned. It's called a tithe. We still do that. We give our tithes to the church and to the kingdom of God in other ways. All right, let's keep going. After these things, Abram slept, and the Lord came to him in a vision. Fear not, Abram, the Lord said. I am your shield and your great reward. What will you give me? Abram asked, for I have no children. And the Lord caught him up out of his tent and showed him the night sky. Look into heaven, the Lord said. Speak with the stars and count them if you can. So shall your children be. And Abram believed. So this time, God said, you are going to have as many children as there are stars in the sky. How many of you have ever tried to count the stars? It's pretty impossible. There's a gazillion of them. But God promised that there would be that many descendants from Abram. And Abram at that point had no children, but he still believed God, and later on it happened. He had children. All right. That was a great book. And if you want to read the story straight from the Bible, you can do that because it's there. All right, so now what you can do is you can start working on your study guide questions and your dictation, and that's all you have to do this week, okay? Don't forget your writing, and I will see you next week, and I hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.